Network for nerds that publishes headlines and news about technology, entertainment, gaming, and other nerdy topics, interviews, reviews, editorials, fan fiction, and more. I'm your host for this week, Eric, staff writer for Noobist, and I'm joined this week by Jeremy.
I am Jeremy. I also write for the Noobist.
Laura.
Hi. Yep, most of you will know me by now. I do a lot of speaking and a lot of giving out. I also write stuff, and I edit stuff. And I help out with this.
All right, great. So the quick overview of this podcast is first topic will be about diversity in media, and in relation to the recent news or recent controversy with the Oscars, kind of having lack of diversity in terms of who's being nominated. Second topic will be the recent debacle with the Fine Bros React World project, and the issue of trademarking and mass corporate media's influence in shared digital media. And the last topic will be just a general kind of discussion of what we're looking forward to and what we think of upcoming Marvel's Netflix series, as we have Daredevil Season 2 coming out, Luke Cage, Iron Fist the following year, and then finally the Defender series. So, let's just get started. Our first topic at hand is diversity in media. In recent news, there's been great controversy surrounding the Oscar nominations. For those who don't know, there's been a noticeable absence of people of color being nominated since the hashtag trend #OscarsSoWhite. This points to a larger issue at hand, that being diversity in media as a whole. Even in 2016, we still see overwhelmingly white-dominated roles in TV shows, films, and even video games. The questions I would like to ask are, how important is diversity in media? Should we care about the fact the Academy seems so white-dominated? What is the impact of lack of diversity, if any? And so I'll just start diversity in media. Definitely, it adds a different perspectives, different. If anything, from an entertainment aspect, it keeps things interesting. Instead of seeing the same kind of characters, same kind of roles over and over again. What the people are kind of outraged about in the Oscars, the whole boycotting. Honestly, I kind of support that. I totally understand it. I was looking into it. Apparently, the actual judges for the Academy Awards are like 96% white, and they're very elderly. And when you have that, I mean that by itself isn't so bad. But when you think into consideration that there's no way that that kind of demographic would have the sort of kind of cultural understanding of other films that kind of tackle the subject. Like for instance, something like Straight Outta Compton or Beasts of No Nation, they don't really see the same value as, say, people of something like a 20-year-old or 25-year-old African American who heavily understands the kind of the struggles of that life. And so that's what comes into consideration when you don't have a diverse enough judges or people behind the scenes who don't value that, whereas other people do. And as time goes on, we need to have people that kind of reflect the society at large. So definitely, I feel like the Academy needs to have more diverse age demographics and definitely a more diverse racial makeup. And growing up as an Asian American, over time you kind of realize just that some things, it gets kind of old, and there's a lot of these kind of tropes that come off as offensive at times. Just how really whitewashed a lot of things are. Even when you see things that have no place for a white person. For instance, if we're talking about what was it? When M. Night Shyamalan was going to do, first doing The Last Airbender, and
didn't they want Aang to be played by basically like a white kid?
Oh no, he was played by a white kid. The original intention was to have the entire cast be white people, and the backlash was severe. They're like, no way in hell. And so he eventually, didn't cast everyone as white, but they're mostly white anyways. And it's just stupid because, number one, I feel like if you're someone who's an Indian guy making films, I think he would understand the cultural impact, the importance of that, of casting people who look like the roles. And second of all, it's just a universe. Yes, it's an American-made show, but the whole show is heavily influenced by Chinese, Indian, and Japanese mythology, with the characters who are clearly Asian. So that just makes no sense. And then it's not just it's a lot of things like that. You have that shitty Dragon Ball Z movie. Dragon Ball.
Oh, that movie was awful.
Oh God, fuck that. And then like Goku is just some angsty little teenager who just wants to get laid. That was the entire film. It just missed the entire fucking point of it, and it was just really bad. Not to say that we haven't made headway. Like I'm very happy that we have shows like The Walking Dead where we have an Asian American or Korean American, to be more specific, main cast who had his girlfriend / wife is a white girl. You almost never see that, and he's a beloved character. People get super upset when they thought he died. And then on that same network, you have Into the Badlands with Daniel Wu as the protagonist, and it's produced by like a Hong Kong stunt crew. So that's really cool. But yeah, have you guys seen the Netflix series Aziz Ansari's Master of None?
I haven't seen it. I've heard a lot of the hype around it, but
Yeah,
I
same.
haven't seen it.
It's really good. I ended up watching it, and what it really tackles subjects that a lot of Asian Americans go through. Because Aziz Ansari's character plays an actor looking for different gigs. He's trying out different roles, and it's just kind of his daily life. And I forget which episode it was, but it deals with the whole racial typecasting sort of thing. So like the casting people want him to do an Indian accent, and he's just like, I don't want to be that guy that only does Indian accents. Here I am speaking normal whatever English, and that sort of thing. And what came to my attention, I didn't actually think about it before, was he actually ends up meeting the producer because the producer fucked up and he accidentally replied to an email. You know how when you reply to emails, there's an email chain, right?
Yeah, you reply all. He replied all when he meant to just reply.
Yeah, he replied all, and he ended up seeing what the producer said. Producer said, "Yeah, sure, bring the two Indian guys. Maybe we can curry their favor." And yeah, Aziz is like, his character's like, what? And then so they met, and the producer wanted to apologize, and he took him out. And then he's like, I don't even care about what you said in email. I just don't understand why you can't have two Indian guys in the show. What's the big deal? And he's saying, oh, here's a problem. I don't care. I would gladly do that, but the problem is the public, the audience, the people who actually put the money in, et cetera, into the show. If they have more than one type of person of racial makeup, it ends up being like, oh no, now it's an Indian show. Or you have two black people, now it's a black show. So people have this misconception, and his character brings up a good point, being like, black people have they're still facing a lot of racial tensions, but they've gone a lot further, in terms of other racial makeup. So that's why you see a lot more black, roles. But then when you look at Asian roles, it's almost like very, very little. And so it's like, it's really like kind of like superficial progress in a lot of ways.
Right.
Yeah. So that's kind of my take on it. I feel like diversity needs to be more focused. And when I look at the films that came out last year and how they're not nominated in the Oscars, things like Creed, things like Beast of No Nation, Straight Outta Compton, I believe a white screenwriter is being nominated for Straight Outta Compton. And when I look at those, there are some genuinely great performances and great filmmaking. I think Ryan Coogler should definitely be nominated for Best Director. There are some great scenes in Creed, especially the boxing scenes themselves. These one-take shots of boxing that I've never seen that done before. And I forgot the name of the actor, but the one who plays Eazy-E in Straight Outta Compton. That is the most spot-on acting of Eazy-E I've ever seen. It's just like, I watched an interview with Eazy-E right after I saw the film. I couldn't tell the difference. This dude nailed every bit of it. Looks like him, talks like him, raps like him, acts like him. It's like, but there's no like sort of recognition given to that. But yeah, what are your guys' takes on it?
I'll take this first if you don't mind, Laura. I'm torn on it because one, I sympathize with the way that you explained it, in that there isn't enough diversity in media. You know, when you do see a Indian actor, he's stereotypical Indian. Like I know there's a kid on Disney Channel who's of Indian descent, but he's been on like 2 or 3 shows where he just fakes an Indian accent, but then you hear him talk outside of out of character, and he just speaks with an American accent, and they force him into all these roles where he's wearing traditional Indian clothing, and it's really stupid. But and then like the character in The Big Bang Theory, I don't know if he's actually Indian, but he's so stereotypically Indian, it's almost painful. So I agree with you that's dumb, and that you shouldn't just be, forcing people to fit into a stereotype. But the controversy with the Oscars, I don't know if I can really get behind, because, well, one, I personally don't put a lot of value in the Oscars, and I'm confused, not confused, but I disagree with that the assumption that the Oscars are in any way, that they're so pretentious, or that they mean anything. This is an award show by like film executives. Is that who makes up the Academy? I'm not even 100% sure. I assume it's high up people in the film world who are, excuse my stereotyping, but mostly old white men, mostly Jews.
Completely true.
Right, and it's those are the people that are picking these movies. And I'm sure, let's say you replace the Academy with 10-year-old kids, they're going to be nominating things like Pacific Rim or Dread, or I can't even think of anything else on the top of my head, but just the fact that you have a certain set of people choosing certain movies, of course they're going to gravitate one way. So I don't know if I heard a lot of people saying, oh, the Oscars should, choose more diverse things or choose different people. Why do we even give the Oscars any validity at all? Why not just say, okay, well, this is an award show led by old white Jewish men. Why don't we do something else, or just ignore them? Because they don't mean anything.
Right. I've heard that argument before, and I understand it. It's just like I remember watching some like black people like this, we have our own award show. We don't need your validity. The problem being is just the power behind the recognition of Oscars. And there's no denying the kind of public publicity you get from that. You win an Oscar, instant like movie deal coming the following year or something, like the following couple of months or whatever. Because that's the power behind it, the recognition. It's the de facto award show for movies.
Okay.
So it's even if you want to ignore that, you can't ignore what it gives you, the acceptability from the public at large, that sort of thing. And I am happy that I think one of the people behind the Oscars sent a letter out saying that we understand your frustration. Like by next year, things will have changed. And I was like, all right. And that sort of thing. But no, I get what you're saying. It's like the Grammys. It's like when there's a lot of Grammys and Oscars. They just have so many shady, dumb shit behind it, where you can tell when someone should have won something they didn't for very political reasons.
Yeah,
like
and you can see
for the longest time didn't win shit. DiCaprio still hasn't won shit. And when they do, when people like them do win something, it's almost as if it's a pity reward. It's like, oh, you waited long enough. Here's your reward. Like Denzel Washington's role when he won for Best Supporting Actor, I think, for Training Day. No one thought that was a role worthy of an Oscar role. But the previous time when he was nominated, they thought he should have won. So it's just things like that. It's like, hey, you waited long enough. And when I see DiCaprio's role because now he's nominated again for The Revenant, and I saw The Revenant, and I thought the movie wasn't as good as I thought it would be. It was okay. When I look at DiCaprio's role, it wasn't like a whole lot of real sort of acting. It was just him grunting
I
and
totally agree.
in the wilderness. And
Tom Hardy stole the show.
Exactly, Tom Hardy had
Leo.
more spoken lines, that sort of thing. And I know acting isn't just speaking, whatever, and DiCaprio did well. But if I'm thinking of his best roles, I think Blood Diamond. I think The Departed, or something like that. I hear he was good in Shutter Island. I haven't seen Shutter Island. I think if his role in Django Unchained as Mr. Candy.
Yeah, or I really liked him in Wolf of Wall Street. That was probably him at his best, because he plays whenever I see a Leo, it's like watching a Tom Cruise movie. You can't forget that it's Tom Cruise, for me, I can never forget that it's Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm always watching Leonardo DiCaprio fighting a bear, Leonardo DiCaprio going into people's dreams, whatever. In that, I can never, no matter how good his acting is, I don't think he's a bad actor, but I don't think he's a good character actor. It's like he's good at playing different versions of Leo, and that I don't know if that's Oscar worthy. Like, I don't especially for The Revenant. I agree with you. I don't think it was award worthy, just because I never. It was good, but I think another actor could have done much, much better.
It's like people are just like, oh yeah, DiCaprio did so much of this role. He actually ate a real, live, uncooked deer and shit like that. But, if you're going to judge acting based on how much shit you go through, then you might as well give the crew of Jackass an award,
Yeah, I've seen that before.
With the Gollum.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Christian Bale, oh, he lost 85 pounds. Oh, he gained 100 pounds of muscle. Give it to him based on body transformation, not on acting ability. I think Christian Bale's a good actor. That's another time. That's the whole other side. I don't think Leo is. I think he's good at being Leo and he's a good movie star, but I don't think he's one of the best actors we've ever had. So that's completely taking this off topic.
I legitimately think he's a great actor. I think he should have.
Yeah, so do I.
He should have won a while ago, not now.
And it's also it depends who you're up against. I forget who he was up against. For Wolf of Wall Street, but if I remember, he had some tough competitors. So it's all about who else you went up against. It's not just about do you deserve one, or how good were you this year. It's there might have been you might have had 99 out of 100 performance, but someone might have had an A+, 100 out of 100. So it's all comparative too.
Laura, your take on this?
Well, I think I'll start with, I guess, kind of the elephant in the room, I suppose. It's very difficult and I'm not going to speak for Jeremy, but this is just how I feel about it. It's very difficult to talk about diversity as a white heterosexual female, purely due to the fact that we are so well represented in media and in culture in general. And I think where kind of all of the issues with the Oscars pretty much stands from is the lack of diversity throughout media, not necessarily just the culmination of what is presently happening, with the Oscars. It's not just, the whole race bit about it is a big deal, no doubt, but we're also misrepresenting people in, who are of different subsets, such as not just gender, but sexuality and all the rest. There was a movie that was out last year about it was some sort of rising in terms of the LGBT community, but a lot of them were played by white cisgendered actors, and there was a huge kind of uproar about that, about the misrepresentation purely based on what focus groups think we want to consume in terms of media. And I think that's really interesting, because the more that we kind of shout about it and the more that we talk about how it's unfair, and the more likely that it will be that we will get change, like the heads of the Oscars saying, we will change the way we do things from now on. I think it's really reassuring, and I think it's a great set of progression. And I don't think there's anybody who can deny that inclusion is ever limiting, because it's not. All you're doing is enhancing different viewpoints and different perspectives, and that will never be a bad thing.
Yeah. Let's see if I can suss it out. I think that I agree with you, and then having more representation or having more diversity in film or in media in general is not a bad thing at all. If we have higher levels of black people in films, Asian people of Asian descent in films, I think that's good. That is in no way a bad thing. I think that the negative thing that the weird thing that I look at this whole Oscar controversy with it that I can't really ignore is I can't help but think when people say, "Oh, there weren't enough there weren't enough black directors nominated here," or these movies got snuffed just because they had black people in them, and you have people like Jada Pinkett Smith protesting or Spike Jonze, and I can't help but get the thing out of my head that I always think that they're asking, no, you should nominate more films with black people. They never say this film was great, it just got snuffed because you're racist. They're like, no, we need more black people in the Oscars. We need more black people being nominated. And that's kind of the end goal. And I think that's the wrong way of going about it, because like if a movie I don't like the percentages and quotas that some people demand. That you're like, no, you need to have an equal number of representation in the Oscars. You need to have, I'm going to make up a number. 20% of the American population is black, so you need to have 20% of the movies nominated to have black people in there, made by black people. I think that's the wrong way of going about it, and I think that's what some people want. They want, oh, there are too many white people, so just like throw some black people movies in here. I think that's stupid, and that doesn't harbor diversity. It's totally artificial, and it does nothing for the art form. It's an artificial bloating of it. It's an inflation of numbers, and it pads things to up your statistics, not really make substantive change. And I feel like that way of going about fixing diversity is way too prevalent, and that too many people latch onto it, and that it needs to be more of a grassroots change, that you either change the makeup of the company so you have more people working in film, you want to have more people of color, minorities, whatever you want, you have more of them making films, and you educate more people about, you can be in the film industry. You sort of inject them into the film industry so they're represented within, so you make actual lasting change, not just we'll throw some more black people movies in here. So I think like this kind of knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, they need to nominate these things, that's not going to make, like, these Oscars are going to be what they are, and then you can't really do anything, and changing them isn't going to do anything now. But maybe going forward we can make change. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Right. Okay. I think what the issue at hand that Laura brought up is kind of superficial, I guess, understanding of what it means to be progressive in a lot of ways.
Okay.
So, like you said, like, you can't just throw a bunch of people of color in there and expect it to be kind of fixed. In that same episode of Master of None that I saw, how it ended was perfect, I thought. How the episode ended, so the whole point was Aziz's character, his name is Dev. He did not want to just keep playing the stereotypical Indian role, speaking with the accent, blah, blah, blah. And so what ends up happening is that producer, spoiler alert, he dies, and a new producer comes in. So new producer comes in, and she's very progressive. She brings in Dev, and he's like, you know what? I don't see why not. Why can't we have two, Indians in the show? And he's like, yeah, that's exactly what I want. Awesome. And he's like super happy. And then she says, yeah, this is the plan for the show. Your character will be an Indian American, grew up here, blah blah blah. But then his cousin from back home comes and visits. So now it's like a cultural a barrier between one another, having to fit in, etc. So then he'll be speaking with an accent. And then his face is like, it's really like frowning. He's like, oh, at your heart, it's right direction. Like, you want to have more diversity, etc., and you want to speak to more demographics. If you really wanted to have that sort of diversity in it, you would have consulted people who live that life, not a bunch of white people who think they understand what it means to be an Indian American or changing cultures, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's the thing. It's like superficial progression, and just because they just don't get it. Right. A lot of the times.
But I feel like some people are satisfied by that. They're like, oh, I see you have 12%, 12% of the people in these things are black people. Oh, that's good enough. We want the numbers. And that the people, like that producer in that episode, that is stupid, and I agree. But I think it's bad that people want that in general, like that will satisfy some people, and it's weird. I don't understand why that would make somebody happy. Just like putting them in there for no reason.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Everything needs to make sense in context. Like,
Yeah.
building off your point, I remember talking to my friends about, sometimes movies will, if they're adapting a book or adapting, say, a comic book series. This happens, superheroes. This happens quite a bit. They changed the actor's racial makeup, right?
Yeah.
This wasn't just a film; they actually did it in comic, but they changed Nick Fury from white to black, and that wasn't really an issue. Back in that really shitty Daredevil movie that came out with Ben Affleck, they changed Kingpin from, he's always been a built-up white guy, to Michael Clark Duncan, who's a built-up black guy, which wasn't that big of a deal. It was actually,
no, because he
one of the
fit
better parts of the movie.
Yeah, and his race had nothing to do with his role,
it's
so it didn't matter.
His race actually has an impact. So you would not, the upcoming Black Panther film, you would not cast a white guy to be Black Panther. In no way, shape, or form does that make any sense at all, right? The whole point is to be black. And thank God they casted, Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther, and thank God they have Ryan Coogler directing the film. I'm really happy about that. But yeah, race needs to have, I guess, context. And I have nothing against changing someone's race as long as it makes sense in a sort of way.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, any further thoughts on that before we move on, or do you guys feel like we've kind of talked about it?
I don't have anything left. I've said my piece.
All right. Laura?
Yeah, I think we can sum it up with, it's stupid to try and, balance diversity with sheer with a value estimate on numbers alone.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for that discussion. Moving on to the second topic, we have the subject of the Fine Brothers and their React World Project fiasco. I'm sure as many of you all know, the Fine Bros are the creators of the React channel. Essentially, it's a collection of videos capturing the reactions of different people of different age groups as they watch famous viral videos or cultural videos, etc., movie trailers, and the like. Needless to say, they are highly successful with millions of subscribers as their support base. However, they've recently entered some hot water with the introduction of their React World project last week. So here's a short version of the story, for those who don't know. Last Tuesday, the Fine Bros announced their global online network known as the React World that would supposedly allow YouTube channels to create reaction videos in their format. The benefits of which would be allow these channels to access to their production and promotional resources. They further claimed that this was to protect their content from others who have so-called blatantly ripped them off in the past. As such, they have already trademarked the words Teen React, Elders React, and had made motions already to trademark the general word React. Well, the internet reacted violently by mass subscribing to Fine Bros channel, causing them to lose hundreds of thousands of subscribers nearly overnight. And it's still going down as I speak. The Fine Bros then released a video simply titled "Update," in which they attempted to explain themselves to their angry viewers. This only dug their grave deeper. The Fine Bros have now issued an apology and rescinded all claims to the word React, all titles associated with that word, and removed the React World project entirely. However, the backlash has not ended and are continuing to hemorrhage subscribers. And as a reminder, because many of those out there do not know, there's a difference between trademark and copyright. Trademark, in the words of the lawyer Ryan P. Morrison, are much more broad and powerful protection than copyright. They protect your brand and or logos and slogans. They also protect against their confusingly similar, so it's possible you could be sued for naming your video Kids Have Emotions. So, now, as the rest of the internet has already made clear, what the Fine Bros attempted to do points to some glaring problems in terms of trademarking and corporate influence in digital media. So I ask firstly, do we agree that this is wrong to do? And if you do, does this have the potential to get even worse? Is digital media becoming more about individual freedom, more about how companies can profit from what they allow you to do? And right, I'll just start off. I think pretty much anyone who's sane will think this is a terrible idea. If you guys watched the original video and their apology in the update video, they had this like kind of just sheer arrogance associated with their tone, how they were coming off, and they're just like, it's as if they pioneer. Well, we're a cornerstone in this market, blah blah blah, and it's almost as if they think they invented reaction videos, even though it's existing since ever since we had TV. We had Bill Cosby have a segment on that, and even if their intentions were like weren't hostile, they were just trying to so-called protect their format. If you watch any of their videos, it's such a vague as shit format that who the hell are you to decide whether or not someone's copying off of you? So the dangers of associating one sort, allowing one source to dictate copying a format when that format is incredibly vague and can easily be abused, that's a problem, especially with YouTube's broken content ID, which is already a problem.
Right.
They take down videos, they seize monetization. It fucks over a lot of YouTubers I follow. And then
with that, you're guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
It'll screw you over, even if you're not guilty of infringing on any copyright. They'll just take your monetization, take your ads, take your video down sometimes. And just because YouTube operates on an automated system, that there are no people behind the copyright claim system. It's so bad.
And what really just fucking got my nerves is their, like I said, just their attitude, their arrogance. They said several times in this video, right, how they think they're pioneers and shit. They're just like, hey, you're gonna look back at this moment in time, this video, years from now, how we changed the world, how we changed the future of entertainment. Like, your content is nothing. It's you recording a bunch of people reacting to something and then asking some questions. And yeah, the production value is a little bit better, but a dickless monkey could do your job. It's not hard to do. It's like, I can't believe you sit there thinking that you're some great pioneer. You just got lucky with a certain sort of format. And there are thousands of other YouTubers who do the same thing you do. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And the way they were promoting it as if they were doing us a favor, right?
Right.
But in reality, if you signed up for that, they had access to 50% of your brand deals, 40% of your ad revenue, and that's not even taking consideration how much YouTube takes away. And then you would have to ask them permission to post your videos on Facebook. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And yeah. And there's some people out there, like a very small minority, who argued that the Fine Bros were simply just protecting their content and would never go after other creators arbitrarily. That's a load of bullshit, because in the past they have done that. They have already abused their power. There's a post they made where they're actively encouraging all their fans to go on the Ellen Show and post a bunch of Fine Bros videos. Be like, oh my god, Ellen Show just had a kids reaction segment. This is not cool. They stole a format, and they did the same thing to BuzzFeed too. And I watched both segments. I watched them. They are they're almost nothing like the Fine Bros, other than the fact they are reaction based. Ellen Show had a bunch of kids touching like old technology and looking at them. BuzzFeed had a bunch of people looking at a laptop, sure, but it wasn't done in the whole like, oh, here upper right hand corner is the video segment, right? And then this is them watching it, and then we ask questions. No, it's like the camera just moves and you see behind them what they're watching, and it's really stupid. Like, that is the most arbitrary thing in the world for you to get angry about. And so, yeah, I don't buy into anything they say for a second, that they were just protecting what's theirs. It's because they weren't. And they issued an apology saying that, we realized the potential for abuse, et cetera, and while we can keep on saying how our intentions are pure, there's no way to prove that, and that's completely true. And for one, they're already super powerful. They're one of the biggest YouTube channels out there. So it's not like there's some up and coming small YouTube group who just like wants to make sure that no one steals your innovative idea, right? And can we just realize the irony in saying that what you do is in any way original and great when your entire content is based on stealing, other videos and then just, making money off of that? But yeah, I've talked long enough. Well, what are your thoughts?
I followed this so much. Every time there's a new update or a new video that came out, I was so excited. And this was so interesting to follow.
I love that.
It was also kind of refreshing to see that the community took this great of an effort to fight against it, because if no one had said anything, they would have gone through and they would have copyrighted React. I don't. Did they already have Teens React and Elders React
So it's
copyrighted?
Not copyright, it's trademarking. Copywriting kind of refers to, I guess.
Yeah, copyright. You copyright the word.
Yeah.
Like no one can use Teens React
literally,
specifically, but
yeah.
trademarking is more.
Powerful.
Even if somebody, it'd be like Coke trademarked Coke. So if somebody came up with like, I don't know, Cuke, and then used the same logo, or like generic cola, but used the same
exact font
red
style,
and white font style, then that would be infringing on the trademark.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. But so one, I think it's good that people stood up and said something against this kind of thing before it even got started, because even if the Fine Bros had the best of intentions, which I could still believe, I think they're so removed from the greater community, and they're so into their brand, and they're so hyper focused in protecting their brand and their videos and their trademarks and whatnot, that they kind of forgot what kind of precedent that they were setting, or what kind of impact they would have on the larger space. So I'm willing to believe that they had the best intentions, but I don't care. It doesn't matter. And did you see the Philip DeFranco video that he posted?
Yeah, I did, actually.
Talking about it, I actually agree with him on a lot of points, in that it doesn't matter what they were intending. This was a bad thing for the community, no matter what. No one should have the power. No one should have a trademark over the word react. It's way too broad, and even if they don't abuse their power, which they did with Jimmy Kimmel and Ellen, and I didn't know about BuzzFeed, but they were abusing their power, and why would we believe that they wouldn't, given more power over their trademarks?
Yep.
So
did you hear about that same lawyer I had referenced earlier? If they had waited 30 days without saying anything about it, they could have gotten away.
Oh yeah, they would have gotten away. Yeah, and they were deleting comments and comment threads. They were deleting Facebook posts before. I want to say before the original React video went big on Reddit. It had a largely positive response. And with the original, when I just saw the video, I was like, okay, I'm not against this. Like, if they wanted to bring people in to make the videos with them, I thought that idea in itself wasn't a bad idea. Like licensing out their brand of React videos, I think that's not a bad idea in the greater scheme of things. But the way they went about it was so horrible. Once I found out that they had trademarked React, then I was like, oh, that's bad.
Yeah.
And they were.
Yeah. Oh, okay, that's cool. Fair enough. You want to have this kind of same format that other people. And then I thought to myself, just it's just reactions. Anyone can do it. They don't need you to do this in the first place.
Right.
And then the language they're using. Oh God! Again, they're so.
Dude, yeah, and they're so bad on camera too.
We're not like corporate Hollywood where do upfront fees, blah blah blah. Except what you're doing is exactly what the corporate Hollywood does.
And I loved their update video. It was so pandering, where it was just like, we're so sorry that we confused all of you with our language. And they just said the same thing. My favorite line in that whole video was when they're saying, now people have been asking us about our format, and here's our answer. Go watch our video. That's our format. The format is that video. All of the elements in the video. And that was so calculated and so transparent that it made me cringe. It was like, and they did that to protect them, to legally protect themselves, so that if they did want to take down a video, they could say, well, they took our format. But if they ever laid out their format, then they couldn't be as vague and they couldn't abuse their powers as much. So it was all so calculated that it was so bad.
Yeah. And if you look at the guy on the left, the one with the fucked up eye, he's shrugging his arms, just as if you can't believe that people misunderstood him. Like, fuck you. Laura, what's your thoughts on this?
If anybody thinks that this is a good idea, or in any way smart, or that it was ever going to work in their favor, you're all fucking stupid.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's the practice. Like, I can understand the larger idea. Oh, we want to bring people into our, like, oh, we want to create videos with you. Okay, fine. But it's just, the total control is something nobody should have.
Yeah, and the larger issue here being just like companies, have done this already. Just a week before Fine Bros did this, Sony was trying to trademark Let's Play. Did you guys hear
Yeah,
about
that was
that?
ridiculous.
I cannot believe that. Oh my god. It's the same issue and the same thing, and thousands of people already do it.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
That one didn't go through, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
never trademarked that. That got their application just got thrown out.
Yeah, and
So
I'm just fearful for the future now. Like the next big trend that everyone does and has in no way, shape, or form can be owned by anyone is going to be an attempt to be owned by someone big, and one of these days it'll get passed and we'll be all fucked.
yeah, but at least I'm hopeful now because, like I said before, you see people are on the watch for things like this, and they will speak against it, and they'll actually do something about it, and not just complain. And that they will, unsubscribe or unlike videos, or even appeal the trademark application. And as long as people are doing that, then I'm hopeful, and I'm not so scared.
Right. So like the sheer like the negative backlash to the Fine Bros is to me unprecedented. I've never seen such an exodus of subscribers.
Me either.
Even when shitty people out there have admitted, like, who is that idiot who has like a family friendly video for like Christians, but he admitted to fucking having an Ashley Madison account where he trying to cheat on his wife.
Oh,
I
forget the number. Yeah. It was like 19 and counting. Yeah. The son, who was like, and then he got accused of molesting his sister or something.
Something like that. And then like this, he made a video that it was just like, yeah, I did have an Ashley Madison account, but God has forgiven me. He literally said that. God has forgiven me. And I was like, wow, fucking hell. Why do people like you exist? And even that did not get the nearly as much negative backlash. And I keep saying lashback to Fine Bros. And I was like, wow.
There were live streams of their subscriber counts.
I still watch it. It's great.
Is it still going down? I know their videos are still getting disliked.
It is going down. Because, and I remember watching another video on this. Why are they still having such negative reactions after they made an apology? And
people won't forget.
For one, what they did was nearly unforgivable, and for two, if you look on their channel, do you see any video discussing about what just happened? No. They took the original ones down. It was one small link to an obscure site on under Twitter, and it just says update or some shit, right? And so it's like, if you're not going to make the effort to be very apologetic to all your subscribers, because their Twitter only has a fraction of the people that their YouTube has, then why should anyone care? It doesn't seem very, sincere. That's the problem.
I mean, I can sort of understand why they're doing that, because they're trying to protect their brand again. And that most of the people, I think they said in the update, it's all you people who just want to watch our videos and you don't care about all this stuff. We're sorry, and we'll keep making content. So I think they're really trying to bank on those people that just want to watch their videos, and they want to keep protecting their brand and make sure that they just don't look bad to most people, because most people don't care and they just want to watch the videos. And there's nothing wrong with the videos themselves. Yeah. They're not super high effort, They're not going to enrich anyone's lives like they were claiming in the original video.
God.
But I don't find anything offensive about them. Well, except for the larger picture, but the videos themselves I don't think are that bad. So they're just trying to appeal to those people who are just like, okay, yeah, I want to watch some kids react to an old VHS player or something. So I understand what they're doing, but just kind of not addressing it anymore. Oh man, it's pissing off way too many people, and especially people on YouTube are super vindictive. I don't know if you guys, this is really strange, but I don't know if you followed the Call of Duty community at all, like during the Modern Warfare 2 days.
A little bit.
Do you remember G Unit? he uploaded a video of him getting a nuke in like 30 seconds or something, and it came out that it was totally fake. Like he had a bunch of friends in a lobby, and it was so ridiculous. Like at one point in the video, you saw a guy, he could have shot him or something, and he went, "Oh shit, I got to get back to my place." It was so choreographed. And then it came out that he either admitted or people were like, "Oh, it's totally fake." And it was, fake nuke, fake nuke, fake nuke, all over the video, all over his recent videos, fake nuke, fake nuke. And I think even years ago, I bet even now, if you went to his channel and went on some of the comment section, it'd still be filled with comments, people going, fake nuke, fake nuke, fake nuke. Modern Warfare 2 came out, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
And people are still posting this about the fake nuke, and that's all they can get.
A lot of the times, these things just become bandwagoning hate.
Yeah.
Well, it's that, and it's also, if you're thinking of it from another side, it's a breach of trust. I mean, because you have to understand, for a lot of YouTubers, and particularly for, the brothers as well, they are making most of their profit and revenue and livelihood from YouTube. If you aren't treating your audience and you aren't treating your viewers with respect and honesty about the content that you are providing, or admitting when you're wrong, even if you have fucked up, the internet will not forget.
Oh no.
They're a vindictive lot. And that is the reason why you need to be super careful about what you post on the internet, because you can be guaranteed that shit will haunt you. You can be guaranteed that if they try to move on to any other brand deals now, if they try to do anything else, this will affect their income and their livelihoods for the rest of their lives. This massive faux pas. The anonymity and the openness of the internet is a double-edged sword. One, you can do whatever you want. You can, it's the Wild West. You can produce pretty much whatever you want. You can share whatever you want, and people can react however they want. But if you do something bad and you try to cover it up, people will not forget. And it's so easy to post a negative comment like, "Oh, fuck Fine Bros" in their React world, or something like, "Oh, fake nuke." It's so easy to do that. And there's not a barrier to entry to, hate on somebody or to criticize them. And it's so easy to figure out what they did wrong. So if you don't apologize correctly, you're also at the mercy of your viewers. It's scary, but they're handling this like business people and not like YouTubers. And their audience isn't reacting, how that isn't reacting accordingly. So it'll be interesting to see where this thing settles in like a month, 2 months. But Laura, I think you're right that they're not going to forget this. They'll carry this scar for the foreseeable future.
When the Fine Bros said they're going to make history, oh yeah, they made history.
Yeah, they were.
I mean, this
statement wasn't wrong.
This is a great case study on the power of the internet and hubris.
Oh yeah.
About how, you might consider yourself godlike, but how quickly, just like Icarus, if you get too close to the sun, you will just tumble back down to earth. And they will have to start again from the beginning.
Yeah. And it's not like something on TV where you just kind of forget. Like if something is bad on TV and you're like, "Oh, that sucks," it just goes off the air and you don't really remember it in a year's time. But there's something about the internet where it's there forever.
Yeah. I just want to say one last thing. It's just, again, when we try to say what were their intentions, etc., that sort of thing, I mean, you can kind of understand how they really feel about it when they're like saying, "Oh yeah, our content is so like game, it's changed the world. It's so it really is a great way of reflecting on culture," and you're just like, I don't think in any way, shape, or form has my worldview ever been influenced by a bunch of old people watching a video and be like, "Oh, kids these days," or little 12-year-olds being like, "Oh my god, that's so funny. Kids used to do that back then." I was just like, you're so overinflating what you do. It's just,
it's like saying that The Bachelor is a great piece of cultural history. Somebody's going to remember it, and it's going to be interesting to look on, but this isn't going to be taught in history classes or something. So, you're right. I think it was also one more thing to say. Oh my God, I have so much to say about this, but I don't think it was helped by their lack of on-camera charisma. They just look like they're trying to pull the wool over your eyes. They look like they're uncomfortable on camera or something. They don't know how to hold themselves. I'm not sure what it is, but they just do not look comfortable on camera, and that made this all worse because I think that made people uncomfortable.
All right. I think we've had ample enough time to talk about that. So moving on to our last discussion for the day, we're going to talk about Marvel's Netflix series and its future. And I realize some of our panel members aren't, super invested as much as I am, being the comic book fanboy I am. But let's just see where this goes. So far, the Daredevil and Jessica Jones series have been both received a critical acclaim for their super dark, gritty, and well thought out storytelling and tone. This year, we'll be getting season 2 of Daredevil in March, and first ever series of Luke Cage in November. The year after, I believe we'll be getting Iron Fist, who we still do not know who's casted, and this is all leading up to Marvel's Defender series, which is essentially a street-level Avengers-style superhero team with all 4 of the characters, and we'll be getting a season 2 of Jessica Jones. Based on what we know from the previously released TV shows and the comics, what do we think the future will hold for the franchise? What are our thoughts on the upcoming second season of Daredevil, and what are we most looking forward to? Is the casting on point? What do we think about Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and is Defender series even a good idea? And I'll just start with just saying I think everything that Marvel is doing so far is pretty much on point. They've haven't disappointed me at all with their Netflix ideas. This is probably the best idea they've had to date. Taking these sort of somewhat lesser known heroes that most mainstream audience do not know who the hell they are, and making them, just giving them all the backstory they would ever need in a 13 episode format on Netflix, and giving them free reign to do what they show on screen, the tone, the language, and not having to have a very small 2-hour and 40-minute crunch time to get everything in. And it works so much better than any Marvel film to date. I'm a little biased to Captain America, the second one, but I think it's a tremendous idea. And at this point, I would want them to do more. I want them to explore. I heard rumors of Punisher getting his own show because he's going to be in Daredevil season 2, and the Moon Knight, which he's never gotten like a live action adaptation, and that would be very interesting to have. Yeah. Because I'm not sure if you guys know anything about Moon Knight, but he's unlike any other hero. When you first look at him, he looks like a Batman ripoff with his whole he's just a guy who wears a cape and he fights bad guys at night and blah blah blah. But he his character has multiple personality disorder, where a different personality takes over. So one will be like a kind of Boy Scoutish hero. Other one will be kind of like a sort of very, very murderous vigilante, that sort of thing. Yeah, so it's very strange. And imagine getting an actor who could embody all those personalities. It'd be pretty cool. So, yeah, I think it's going in a great direction. I really like what I see. My only issue being Iron Fist coming and being introduced, because for the longest time, I was actually part of this kind of movement where people on the internet were pushing to have an Asian American casted as Iron Fist, and he's traditionally just been white, and it goes back to the issue of diversity and that sort of thing. And so I'm not sure if you know anything about Iron Fist, but Iron Fist's character, his origins, he was created back in the 70s when the whole kung fu craze was a big thing coming into the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Martial arts film, these blaxploitation kung fu films, right? And so his character is very much just an embodiment of a lot of sort of martial arts stereotypes, right? He's fighting some guys wearing karate gis, that sort of stuff. And his backstory being he's a guy named Daniel Rand who comes from a very wealthy family. His father takes his whole family, including himself, to travel in these snow-capped Himalayan mountains. And so his family gets attacked by wolves. His father's corrupt business partner leaves him for dead. And so his parents die, but he gets saved by these warrior monks in this hidden city called Kunlun, which is a magical city that only appears on Earth every 10 years. So they take in Daniel Rand, young Daniel Rand, and they train him to be one of them. And he becomes their champion, the Iron Fist. He literally like kills a dragon and takes its heart and dips his fist into like a molten like pot, and those become like enchanted. So he becomes the Iron Fist. And so if you look at the problem here, like, from the way I see it, is that it's yet another classic white savior trope, where a white guy comes into a culture that he has no business being part of, he learns what they do better than they do, like in a span of a very short period of time, and becomes their champion. Right? This has been a classic trope since when Native Americans have been introduced into films. Right? If you've seen Dances with Wolves, people love Dances with Wolves and won Oscars, etc. But if you really look at what it's implying, where like there's a scene where Kevin Costner is teaching him how to use guns or shooting guns, and Native Americans that he's with don't know how to use guns, whereas Native Americans have been using guns for a very long time. Like when guns were introduced in the U.S., they traded and started hunting with them, and guns very much changed the face of their lifestyle. So it's that sort of thing. And so a lot of people thought, including myself, that it would have made more sense to have an Asian American, because the point of Daniel Rand's character is not that he's white, but is that he's an outsider. He's an outsider to this whole culture, and it has to change. But being Asian American also means you're an outsider. I don't know if many people seem to realize this, but myself, when you're like, you know, not directly part of like an Asian culture where it's kind of very much kind of inclusive, and you're an American, even when you speak the language, even when you know that sort of, and you understand, and you come back home to your home country, they can spot you out like a sore thumb. You don't dress like they do. You don't have the same mannerisms as they do. Your accent is different for one, and that sort of thing. And
it's like being oh god, to bring like a Star Trek into it, it's like being a half breed or something, like, or it's some kind of fantasy world. Like if you're half Klingon and half human, you fit into neither.
Yeah. And that's what I actually lots of people wanted, and I would have wanted a half white, half Chinese version of Daniel Rand, where he could keep his last name; it would still be Rand, and he would have that biracial identity. It's much worse when you're biracial, and I think that would have been great. I think in him going to Kunlun would have kind of like embracing his roots, that sort of thing. That was kind of the kind of route I was hoping they would go for. But I found out that they have a showrunner for Iron Fist. I think his name is I forgot his name. Scott something. He did a Dexter and Rome. So he definitely has good experience with shows. But when you see a showrunner who, it's often a reflection of what the show is going to turn out to be. Like you had Steve McKnight, who did Spartacus. He did Daredevil, and very much that gritty sort of art, you know, very gritty and very dark portrayal. Then in Jessica Jones, you had the woman Melissa Rosenberg, I believe her name. You have a woman, you know, would make sense, you know, understandably, very good idea. Show running a show about women and abuse, that sort of thing. And then for Luke Cage, you have an African American. So at this point, I have pretty much safe to assume it's going to be another white guy. But and the actor of Luke Cage has confirmed that there's been a cast for Iron Fist. So, you know, at this point, I'll just accept what comes, and I just hope how they spin the story makes sense and won't come off as kind of culturally insensitive. Sorry, but that's just been me rambling.
That's fine.
Is there anything? Well, first of all, what did you guys think? I know, Jeremy, you saw Daredevil. Laura, you've read up on Jessica Jones. What did you guys think of those?
Daredevil, I thought, was really, really good, and I thought it was something that, you know, how there were a ton of not just comic book movies, but a ton of adaptations of things after the Christopher Nolan Batman movie came out, that they were like, oh, let's do really dark and edgy version of whatever, you know, Superman, Wolverine, no, but, you know, there were a bunch of Dark Knight spin-offs where you're still feeling the effects of it, and you could kind of see it in this, but it works in that it was something that took those, you know, oh, let's do a gritty adaptation, but it fit the world, and they made it work, and it felt purposeful, and I liked how small the scope was in comparison to all the other Marvel things, where everything's like, oh, we have to defend the planet, oh, we have to defend the world, we have to defend the universe, and that can get kind of boring, and you just kind of yawn. Oh, they're trying to save the Earth again. Oh, this has been done 3 times. When the Earth has been threatened 4 or 5 times, it doesn't really have the same impact anymore. But to see a smaller scale, like, oh, I'm going to defend my city from this guy, it was much easier to connect with, and I thought it worked. I think I agree with what you said before, and that the TV series are some of the best ideas that they've had with their Marvel cinematic air quote universe. Is that this seems to best fit their vision for their universe. It's some of the best Marvel content I think we've gotten so far. And I haven't seen Jessica Jones, but I hear only good things. I'm only speaking about Daredevil so far, but I'm hopeful for anything they all the Netflix series. I'm hopeful in general.
Yeah, totally agree. Laura.
I watched a bit of Jessica Jones, mainly because my other half started watching it and he was addicted to it for a good while. Everything about it, because I've read bits of Jessica Jones, not like the entire way through, because I don't have that much money or time. And, well, it's the truth.
Yeah,
and
I agree. I sympathize.
Yeah. And that and me being an anime baby doesn't really help either. But so I've been dipping in and out and catching up with Mark, and it's been really, from what I've seen of it, it's really, really good. And I think the casting was totally on point. In terms of how canon it is, I think it's pretty up there. As far as I'm aware, it's pretty up there, and it's a really good adaptation. And I think it's a really strong kind of addition to the series so far. And I think including kind of Luke in the rest of kind of what's ongoing is going to be really interesting if they keep the way that they have been going presently.
Yeah. What strikes me the most about these characters so far for the Netflix series is that they kind of explore different aspects of people, right? So we have Daredevil. The whole theme of a lot with Daredevil is how the hell can us everyday people fight against such corrupt, powerful men, right? It's very, very much about, these people just trying to gotta fight for what's right, but we have everything against us. Everything's working against us. The law is working against us. The power, the influence of money, etc. And yes, Daredevil may have very extraordinary abilities, but he's still very much human. He's not like all his fighting skills come from his training, and he's still only like a very just starting out lawyer. So there's only so much he can do, and he realizes over time that it's about working together. It's a collective effort for everyone who believes in doing the right thing. And then with Jessica Jones, is very, very much about abuse with women, that men have on women, and how Kilgrave's character is just this, sociopathic stalker, and very much the mindset of a child. And it's all about how women survive trauma and how do you overcome that. And yes, Jessica Jones may have super strength and can jump very high, but she, that means nothing when the bad guy can control everything you do with a word, just by saying something. So yeah, and then with Luke Cage, from what I know, will very much explore, African American, growing up as an African American in like very, poverty-stricken areas of the U.S. His story is he was wrongly convicted for a crime he did not commit, and suffered immense, abuse from a racist warden. And he got his powers because of an experiment they were doing on prisoners. And the warden tried to kill him by turning it to the max, but it ended up giving him unbreakable skin and super strength, that sort of thing. So I look forward to how they're going to explore his past and with racial tensions, that sort of thing. And Iron Fist, as I said earlier, is about being an outsider. So like these 4 things, it's like, so I never really thought about it until I started watching them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really know how they're going to do the Defenders, because I don't know who's the central villain going to be, if there is going to be one. And I don't worry so much as balancing 4 characters. When you have a film like Avengers, you have to worry about balancing these so many characters into such short film time, and they had a problem with that in Age of Ultron, in my opinion. But with Netflix, that's probably not going to be an issue. It's a TV show format. But
yeah, you can have episodes dedicated to each guy, so you don't have to cram everything in 2 hours.
Right. I just wonder how they're gonna bring them together, and how are they gonna have, what is the central problem gonna be? That's interesting to me, because I can't really think off the top of my head who's the main kind of Marvel bad guy for them. But
I just hope it's not going to be something like, oh, Mr. Evil has come to destroy New York.
Yeah.
Like, ugh. I hope it's something more than that, because I am getting a little tired of the Marvel Universe in general. It's getting... it's too much, and that it's overwhelming. I can't follow everything because there's too much to follow. So, I've stopped watching anything past... Age of Ultron I haven't seen, which granted wasn't that long ago, but I didn't see Ant-Man. I haven't seen Jessica Jones, just because I'm like, I don't care about all this Marvel stuff, because it kind of feels a little samey, but at least the TV shows seem to be something different. So hopefully the Defenders, like you said, the main conflict and the villain, hopefully that's also something different, and some just big bad guy wants to blow something up, but we'll see.
Yeah. I like how there's the different mediums, the TV shows and the movies, right? Explore different aspects, because they know that TV shows can very much be a specific audience, while the movies have to be for everyone, right? It can still be mature, but it still has to be for everyone, right? There can't be heads being cut off like they have in Daredevil, right? Yeah, that sort of thing. But I don't know. For me, I never get tired of superhero films. That's just coming from someone who just loves them. As long I believe that they can't get old, as long as you know how to do it right. As long as you're staying true to what it was about in the first place, and you weren't trying to shoehorn in themes or tones that make no fucking sense to begin with. Kind of like Man of Steel being super dark. With what business does that to be in there? That's not what it's about. Yeah, it's very much banking off of Nolan's success,
right?
Like the worst way possible. But yeah, that's my thing. I mean, was it Steven Spielberg who once said that I feel like superhero films will go the way of the West, as in they'll become saturated and old and become like an overdone genre and that sort of thing. And I just don't agree with it, because superheroes is kind of a genre modifier. It's kind of just like, hey, Daredevil and Jessica Jones is a noir kind of detective sort of thing, or or we can have superhero stuff about just surviving abuse, or superhero films about coming together as a team, that sort of stuff. Yeah, we have all kinds of different themes that they explore. If you compare a movie like Watchmen, right, to a movie like Avengers, where it's radically different. They're both supposed to be about supposed superhero teams, but then the kind of the implied message from Watchmen is all over the place. It's very much a political thing. Like there's so much rich detail in Watchmen I can't even begin to talk about. Yeah, but yeah. Anything else?
No, not from me.
All right, Laura?
Nope, I think I'm good.
All right, great. I think we had a fun discussion, even if I was kind of overbearing for the most part.
No, your rants are fun. It's a good...
that concludes this week's podcast. I'm Eric, and you can find me at dankcushlord.wordpress.com. I still have not made an update yet. I will fix that. I'm just really lazy.
Please do. I can't, oh my god, I can't get over that name.
I've been joined by Laura, and you can find her at
Miss Laura Fagan on Twitter, and you can find all my stuff on the Noobist.
And Jeremy, you can find him at
Gbits on Twitter, and it's all my crap on the Noobist.
Nice. Be sure to give this podcast a thumbs up if you liked it. If you didn't, I don't know why you're still here. On a side note, Jeremy and I will be absent next week, and as such, it will be hosted by Laura and her guest speakers. So expect some great stuff from her. You can also contact us on our new email address, podcast@noobist.com, if you have any questions or comments. This has been the Noobist. Stay classy, you nerdy son of a bitch.
Bye!
Bye.
See you.